teams, which is about 40 individuals with boats, have rescued 1,373 people in Texas since they were sent over to the Houston area several days ago, and also about 150 pets as well. One of the things that developed early this morning is the judge in Orange County, Texas, did order a mandatory evacuation. We anticipate that over the course of today, that could result in about 3,000 additional individuals who will need to come from Orange County, Texas, into Louisiana. And so we will continue to work on that. As it relates to the things going on here in Louisiana, we still have roads that have water on them. That's going to play out for several more days because we still have rivers that are very full. They are just now starting to drain, but the closer you get to Texas, the higher the rivers are. So, for example, the Sabine River, there's going to be flooding in those areas for several more days. I'm encouraging everyone to continue to exercise extreme caution when you're out on the roadways. If you don't know how deep the water is or how strong the current is, don't go through it. Would ask everyone to continue to consult with 511la.org, 511la.org. It has up-to-date information, real-time information on road closures. That includes a link to see what's happening in Texas. There are thousands of roads closed in Texas. And so for traffic that is trying to get into Texas, they are asking that to the extent possible, all of that traffic go north onto I-20 and access Texas, or if you're going to traverse Texas, to do that on the northern side. If you look at that map with road closures in Texas, you'll see why that's important. We do continue to ask people to go to volunteerlouisiana.org to see how they can assist the people in Texas as they transition from response to recovery. And that is taking place in some places in Texas right now where they are moving from the response where they're still very much in the response mode. But volunteerlouisiana.org is where you should go in order to participate in coordinated efforts. For the most part, all but just a handful of parishes will reopen their schools. All state offices are open today across the state of Louisiana. I do want to ask the people of Louisiana to continue to prepare. We are still in hurricane season, and in fact, there is a Category 2 hurricane out in the Atlantic now, Hurricane Irma, that is tracking westward, and we don't know where it's going to go, but we know it has the possibility of impacting Louisiana in 10 to 12 days at a time when we certainly would not want it to impact us based on what's taken place most recently here in Louisiana with Hurricane Harvey. But we don't get to pick and choose those things, so we have to be ready. It is not too late to get a game plan, so I'd ask you to go to getagameplan.org. Make sure that you're prepared should Hurricane Irma or any other storm impact the state of Louisiana. Now, I'm going to be followed today by Bill Duran from FEMA, who will come up and give you an update. Then I will come back and take your questions. You can direct those questions to me or to any of these other fine individuals who are behind me working so hard, not just to take care of the folks here in Louisiana, but to make sure that we are taking care of the folks who need our assistance in Texas. And I'm very proud of the work that they are doing. Had an opportunity to get out to Orange, Texas yesterday and to see firsthand the effort that's taken place there. First of all, the amount of flooding and damage is tremendous, and it's devastation on a scale that we are unfortunately accustomed to here in Louisiana, or at least that we've seen before. But those individuals there really are, to a person, very thankful for the efforts that we are making in Louisiana to take care of them. But that wouldn't happen without dedicated professional people, whether it's the state police, the National Guard, wildlife and fisheries agents from Louisiana, who actually were partnered up with wildlife and fisheries agents from Florida yesterday in that area, fire marshals, you name it. We've got dedicated professionals who are doing a great job out there tending to folks in Texas while we continue to work with the people in Louisiana who've been impacted by this. So I'll come back after Bill in just a moment and take your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. As always, appreciate the partnership. Know that FEMA is still here and focused on Louisiana. My responsibility is to this disaster that affected the citizens of Louisiana, and we're going to stand by to be able to do damage assessments along with the state as called upon, and to continue to process declarations as they come in, and are going to be focused on Louisiana. Even though our hearts go out to the folks in Texas, we still have a robust capability here, and still planning for other storms that are out there. As the Governor mentioned, we have Hurricane Irma out there, so we're looking forward and planning for the worst case scenario as usual, and then hoping for the best. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you. Before I take questions, I meant to mention this earlier. We don't have a press conference that is scheduled for tomorrow. I will have a modified meeting here tomorrow at 11 o'clock of the Unified Command Group in order to continue to go over all the sheltering and operations that we're going to be engaged in over the next several days. But we're not going to have the full UCG meeting, and there will not be a scheduled press conference. We'll let you know if there's a reason to have one. With that, I'm happy to take questions. Yes, ma'am.
So are you all planning to, is it a done deal that you're opening shelters in Shreveport, and is it both of them, or just one?
Yeah. Well, there are some final coordinations taking place as we speak, and so I'm going to hedge on this answer just a little bit. We are planning to take an additional 3,000 people from Texas today and provide sheltering for them. We do that, we will have shelters open in Lake Charles, Alexandria, and Shreveport. So that is the plan. We are confirming with Texas that is what they would like for us to do. And if that happens in those numbers, we will open one of the two shelters in Shreveport, the Jewella shelter. But we will not open the second one in Shreveport today. Yes?
Looking ahead, have there been any ongoing conversations with the congressional delegation about what should happen or what needs to happen with the reauthorization of NFIP?
Well, first of all, those conversations have been taking place for weeks, and we're not contingent upon tropical storm, I should say Hurricane Harvey and its impacts in Louisiana. We didn't need Harvey to tell us how important flood insurance is in the National Flood Insurance Program. So those conversations have been ongoing for weeks. You may remember that when Secretary Carson, Secretary of HUD, was here a couple of 3 weeks ago, that conversation came up then. I know that Senator Cassidy has a bill to reauthorize the National Flood Insurance Program, as does Senator Kennedy, and it's something that the members of the House of Representatives in Congress are also keyed in on. And so those conversations have been going on. Now, the imperative to get it reauthorized, I think maybe the exclamation point has been provided by Harvey, but we didn't need Harvey in order to push us in that direction. Yes.
All right, Governor, so you had mentioned over the past few days, really, a point that you're opening these shelters up to Texas residents and at the same time trying to alleviate concerns residents might have about still having space available for Louisianans affected. I guess just to underscore those continued concerns as we're having more and more Texans in these shelters.
Well, we still have some individuals who are out of their homes in Louisiana. There's no doubt about that. Most of them are in the Calcasieu area, and they are in shelters there. But there's no active search and rescue going on in Louisiana. There may be a few additional residents along the Sabine River who will be displaced for some period of time. We will be able to handle those numbers. But given the capacity that we have in these large mega shelters, especially in Alexandria and in Shreveport, and really in Olla and Monroe and Bastrop, I mean, we have a lot of capacity. At this point in time, it only makes sense to accommodate as many people from Texas as they need us to accommodate. And the need really is there because the individuals that we're moving out of southeast Texas around Orange, the folks from Texas don't have the ability to get to them. So they can't get to them to effect the rescues, and they can't get to them and move them back out west to their shelters. So that's why we're doing it. But I can assure everybody, we are not doing anything with respect to our sheltering operations that will deprive someone of Louisiana of shelter space should they need it. That is not going to happen. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have an estimate of how many homes and businesses have been damaged by the flood in Louisiana?
No, it's in the hundreds. I'm sorry. We believe that it could be as many as a couple thousand, but the problem there is we don't know whether they sustained damage or whether the roadway was flooded to the point where just for safety reasons they all had to evacuate. And the damage assessments are ongoing. I know from personal experience, because I've talked to enough people from Louisiana in our shelters, that I believe we're probably talking in the hundreds in terms of the number of homes that have actually sustained flood damage, but it's probably been a couple of thousand homes from which people evacuated, both because of damage but also largely because the floodwaters presented a hazard to them, and they needed to get out of their homes.
To that point, can you speak any to the damage to agriculture?
Yeah.
When we flew over yesterday, it seemed like there was a lot of farmland up there.
Is the Ag Commissioner standing behind me?
He is.
I'm going to let the Ag Commissioner come up and do that.
Thank you. Thank you, and good morning. We're watching the crops very, very closely. Our primary concerns right now, what's going to happen with our cotton crop, because, you know, as we're getting close to harvest and the bowls are open. Secondarily, what's going on with the soybean crop. As you know, we have about 1.9 million acres of soybeans, high moisture content, and again, it's getting close to harvest. The majority of our rice has been harvested. Some areas have not, so we'll be watching again for the second rice crop, and I think sugarcane is going to probably recover pretty well. A lot of our cattle farmers have not been able to cut any hay because of this storm as well as the previous moisture. We have enumerators that are out that will be collecting that damage. I was in Washington yesterday talking with the USDA and the President's advisor on agriculture. So as soon as we have those numbers, then we will be working with Texas. I did reach out to Sid Miller, the Commissioner of Texas, talk about his agricultural damages, and we're going to start moving from there. So it will take us a couple of weeks to know the exact extent of the damage. So it's going to probably be moderate as we're getting close to harvest, and the fact that the storm started off in southwest Louisiana and then has moved through our main row crop areas. Okay, thank you.
And I would like to mention that all of these individuals who are being evacuated into Louisiana and sheltered here, or Louisiana citizens as well, many of them are bringing their pets with them. And Commissioner Strain and his folks at Ag and Forestry are making sure that those pets are well taken care of. And I appreciate the job that he's doing, because we know from experience that if you don't take care of the pets and people can't bring the pets with them, then they're not going to go where they need to go in many cases. So we appreciate the work that he's doing there. And those efforts extend from Lake Charles up through Alexandria, and we'll follow the individuals into the shelters in Shreveport if necessary. Yes, ma'am.
A few days ago, there were 5 parishes that had the federal disaster declaration. Have any been added?
None have been added, but I did request by letter today, 7 additional parishes be added for public assistance. So this is Category B, and direct federal assistance, and those parishes are Allen, Acadia, Iberia, Natchitoches, Rapides, Sabine, and Vernon. And that request is in the process. It's not been authorized yet, but we are closely communicating with the folks at FEMA. We believe that the request is justified based on what's happened here on the ground, and we will hopefully have an answer on that pretty soon.
One last question.
Well, thank you again for being here today and coverage throughout. We don't have a press conference scheduled for tomorrow, but people need to be diligent because roadways remain flooded, and because Hurricane Irma is potentially 10 to 12 days out there. and I want people in Louisiana to know that, that they can be proud of the effort that's being made on their behalf with respect to the folks here in Louisiana who were damaged by this storm, but also with respect to Texas. And the governor of Texas asked me to personally to relay his appreciation and thanks, and that of the entire state of Texas, to the folks here in Louisiana who are doing so much to assist their citizens when they need it the most. Thank you all very much. Thank you.